We call it people technology.
It's happening. If you're a CSK fan, it's a great day to be in yellow. 14 points with a good net run rate has traditionally been enough in the IPL to make a playoff spot. We're not quite there to confirm it, but we're very, very close. The Super Kings have downed the Royal Challengers Bangalore by 6 wickets. They've confined Virat Kohli's side to 2 successive defeats in the restart, to 7 successive defeats in the UAE in the IPL. And this would raise all sorts of questions about the campaign of the RCB going into the last few games. On Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, we look back at a game where Sanjay Manjrekar's cricketing logic has prevailed over Carlos Brathwaite's understandable affection to the underdog. So let me go to Carlos first up. You think the better team did win today, Carlos?
Yeah, definitely. I think my prediction was more hope than expectation, and as Sanjay
Yes.
said, logic won out in the end.
Sanjay, that is again a message that CSK send out. They will be clinical. They will make less mistakes, as MS Dhoni's side is known to do, and it raises all sorts of questions about what lies ahead for RCB.
Yeah, this is a story more about RCB than Chennai winning, taking no credit away from Chennai. To be fair to RCB, I think they lost an important toss. Having seen how the pitch has turned out, you would think RCB would have loved to chase down a score. And I'm thinking of, people like Wanindu Hasaranga and Chahel, bowling at a different time and Chennai Super Kings trying to set a target against them. I think those two spinners would look different now. Here they were bowling to defend 156. So I see potential in Wanindu Hasaranga on pitches like this. So yes, Chennai Super Kings love the fact that they've won 2 of their games. And just when you thought, Suresh Raina is looking really rusty, you realize why Suresh Raina has been such great value for CSK, Ambati Raidu's form as well. But this is more about RCB story than CSK win, because CSK has been like this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Carlos, do you get the impression that the Super Kings, without doing anything extraordinary, have just put in a very efficient performance? And therefore, Sanjay's point comes into perspective here that this is more about RCB not quite getting a lot of things right on the day.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's kudos to the CSK that you would have seen from the inception. They always back the players. They always go for experience, sometimes over youth. Um, and you can look at someone like Suresh Raina, who's now dropped down the order after batting three for maybe all of his IPL career before. Moeen Ali has been entrusted with batting at number three. He's been doing a fantastic job. And it just seems as though everything that they try to do, everything that they touch turns to gold. And they have set plays and set plans, and everyone executes, everyone feels part of a real family. Whenever you hear Dwayne Bravo talk about CSK and talk about Dhoni, he talk about a family atmosphere. So that is the type
Yes.
of atmosphere that you need when you come into tough situations, and something like this with a restart would have been very difficult for franchises to hit the ground running and feel as though they're carrying on from the first leg. But if you do have that family atmosphere, if you're all very tight knit and close and feel love for each other, it just makes it that bit easier. And we can see from the way that they have started.
I'd like to probably get both your perspectives on where RCB truly lost this game. Sanjay has brought in the toss factor, Carlos. There was also the point we discussed at halftime that, in spite of losing the toss, they started well and they slowed down in the middle overs. They did not get the flurry at the end. And could they still have made more of this defendable target, or this, this under below par target of 156? If you had to rank sort of where RCB lost this game, what first comes to mind and what follows? Carlos?
For me, the lack of momentum in the middle. I think knowing the ground that you're playing on, knowing how difficult it is to defend the score, at some point in time, one of the two set batters, Kohli or Padikal, had to decide, I'm going to go after Jadeja, really try to take him down, force CSK then to bowl Moeen Ali or to bring one of the Pacers back a little bit earlier than they wanted to. You probably even see a Chahar come back in the middle, which is not the game plan that CSK normally has. So I think their lack of momentum through the middle, it just kind of stopped all the momentum they had from the opening partnership, the first six, the first 10, and it was very difficult to catch back up then because, as you can see, as soon as the ball got softer, it became a lot more difficult to play. Fortunately for CSK, they kept a real good tempo throughout the innings. And obviously, when you're chasing 156, you exactly know where you need to get. I reckon RCB were 20, 25 runs short. Not the traditional flat charger track, and they lost it within those 4 or 5 overs where they lost a bit of momentum.
Sanjay?
Well, toss I think was crucial. RCB would have looked a little different as a team. I was impressed with the way Chahal and Wanindu Hasaranga, bowled. So toss was crucial. And you have to give towards the end credit to CSK bowlers, the likes of Bravo, the way they bowled to, AB de Villiers and Glenn Maxwell and those guys. But when they came into bat, things had gone really tough. So that middle stage that we talked about at mid-time as well, where Virat Kohli clearly got up in this thing of getting to his
Hmm.
50 and getting some kind of score and feeling happy about it, consumed far too many balls. And once that pace slowed down, he got out, the others couldn't come in. And as I said at the halftime, reignite the innings. Because when you looked at David Padikal, he wasn't that guilty of slowing down in the middle. He ended up with a strike rate of 140. And when Jadeja and Chahar and Shardul Thakur, that was the combination that was bowling in that time, in that middle phase when they slowed down. Devdutt Padikkal was still going hard at the bowlers. It was Virat Kohli who seemed to be very concerned about not getting out in the 40s and getting to that 50. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, that may have cost them an important moment in the game. You never lose or win a match because of one moment. If AB de Villiers would have come in and given them a great cameo of 30 runs of 12, 13 balls, or Maxwell would have done it, they would have got enough runs on the board. Toss crucial, and then the slowing down, and in the end, 20 runs short clearly.
All right. So I think that's where we afford most of, you could say, the reasoning for why RCB went down today to CSK. The fact that they could have gotten more after that sort of start. What sort of day was it for you for Virat Kohli in general? To the decision making, clearly with your comments, Sanjay and Carlos, we believe he perhaps erred in the approach after the power play with Pat. But what about in the second innings with ball? You still had a lot of pace bowlers that could have bowled to Suresh Raina after what happened in the last game against Mumbai Indians, where Dale Steyn said it was almost embarrassing to watch Raina against genuine pace. Did he err as such, Sanjay, or was it right for him to put faith in the spinners on a day where we did see Ravindra Jadeja get some purchase?
See, he had one fast bowler, a guy who bowled in the mid 140s, and that was Navdeep Saini. Even at the start, I thought that was not a good choice because we've seen Saini enough to know that he's still not comfortable bowling in this format. So there was no way at a crucial stage he was going to go back to Saini for express pace. And then Siraj and Harshal Patel were the other options. Siraj is looking a little flat to me, even in England. He had just given up on the outswinger. We saw the couple of outswingers here, but he's got a more into tricks and variations and stuff like that. So he couldn't go to Siraj to give that pace that Mumbai Indians gave to Raina and Raidu and expose them slightly. So he didn't have that option. And I think at one stage he realized that if he had to win the game with such a small total on the board, the pitch is turning square. Let me put my trust in the spinners. And Maxwell came in, got him a wicket, so he kept his trust in the spinners. And Suresh Raina, when he came into bat, was stepping out and not getting to the pitch of the ball. So he felt, maybe the spinners could do it for him. Because when he looked at the fast bowlers, the options weren't that exciting.
Same question for you, Carlos. Tactically, could Bangalore have done anything more in the second half to make more of a contest for this?
It's tough to say, to be honest, because you look at the surroundings, you look at how CSK dragged the game back. You always knew your spinners would come into play. I personally, at the halftime break, thought that they would have to win RCB the game. But then obviously there's the thought of the opposition you're playing against, and if you feel, regardless of the wicket, that out and out pace would scare your Moeen Ali's, your Ravindra Jadeja's, Raina, Dhoni, etc. And I think he went more on the side of what he saw, which was Jadeja turning the ball square, backing Harshal Patel, who was really off his game today as well. Um, I think what he would have wanted was for one fast ball to come and hit the straps from the ball from the word go, which would have allowed him to rotate his spinners and potentially have one pacer on. And I don't think at any point in time it seemed as though you could count on any three of the pacers on the day to hold the end up for you and potentially allow the spinners to come into the game. I think one thing that played against him as well was the potential Jew factor. We saw Hasaranga come into play a little bit earlier than he would have wanted in the power play, and I thought the Jew factor would have been the reason for that. He didn't go too well, got hit for 12 in the power play, and I think that kind of rejigged them. I mean, with 156, you need everything that you try to work, and that didn't happen today. And I think it was more him going with the surface and the conditions versus the opposition, and it didn't quite work out.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's pretty fair. It further illustrates Sanjay's point of an important toss that was lost by RCB. But that having been said, when they did have the advantage, you think it was forfeited to some degree. Now, if you were in the RCB camp, Sanjay, they still stay in the playoff positions as a result of this game. Then next game again is against the Mumbai Indians. They look like a team that have a lot of questions yet to answer. Would you be worried about them?
Worried about RCB or Mumbai Indians?
RCB, yes.
Uh, if they get the selection right, I mean, that is where Virat Kohli, he's been terrific as a leader. But one of the things that I've never understood is team selection. I mean, he makes some very strange calls. I mean, Navdeep Saini, why he keeps going back to Navdeep Saini in a crucial game like this, on this kind of a pitch when he's got other options as well. Picking up Tim David against all expectations, leaving out Kyle Jamieson. He's got to trust the guys who have delivered it for him. And I still feel there is hope for RCB. Mumbai Indians is vulnerable, so they might have a chance at notching up their first win. But there's some good signs with Devdutt Padikkal. I think he's looking good. Virat Kohli has got some runs, so that should help. I hope he keeps that same momentum that he had right at the start of the innings. And AB de Villiers, Glenn Maxwell, if these guys get going, who knows? On the bowling front, they've just got. I liked one in the Hasaranga today. Chahal still has it. Just with the seam bowlers, if you can have a couple of, good ones. Mohammad Siraj is good. Harshal Patel is good. Just Kyle Jamieson in this attack, and things should look good for RCB.
Okay, so Sanjay still believes there is something to look forward to for RCB. Carlos, do you share that view? You mentioned Harshal Patel looks a bit off color. That's a couple of games without a wicket now for him. He was the purple cap holder. Now suddenly tournaments in the UAE, Kohli's changed the balance of the team, bringing in Saini and leaving out Kyle Jamieson. Do you think there's cause for concern for RCB?
This shouldn't be. I think the team that panics first always the team that loses. What I would love the communication to be in the dressing room is that it's a fantastic challenge. Anytime you come up against CSK or Mumbai Indians, you start to think of playing against juggernauts, and it's time for someone to put their hand up, take the game by the scruff of the neck, and win the game for RCB. Sometimes you want the New Zealand way, which is the sum of all parts. Sometimes you want a match winner to go out there and win the game for you, and then that breeds belief. Think about Gaikwad's knock when CSK was struggling. The sort of belief that would have given them. They need someone in the RCB camp to put their hands up, play a similar knock, come and get 4 or 5 with the ball, and get the train rolling again.
From a Chennai Super Kings point of view, though, Sanjay, again, almost synonymous with their history, that without doing perhaps exceptional things, they do efficient things, and they end up almost securing a playoff spot before anybody else. They're in pole position to do that. And I still find it staggering that not much has changed from CSK in IPL 2020 to 2021. Shane Watson's retired, Kedar Jadhav has left, but you've got Moeen Ali who's come in, Ruturaj Gaikwad has cemented his place, and suddenly CSK, with just a couple of changes, are looking great.
Okay, now CSK, said they didn't do anything special, but in comparison with RCB, RCB was the bigger story after the match finished. For us to sort of talk about RCB losing that game, but let's come and talk now about the exceptional things of CSK. One is Bravo as the bowler. I think he's just adding great value to this team, and how good was Ruturaj Gaikwad? This guy, it's amazing what confidence does to a player who is sound technically, basically great fundamentals, and now he's looking like an ominous T20 batter. So that is looking good. Ambati Raidu, after that one failure, is back to his business. The first ball that he played, when RCB were gung-ho about, coming back into the game, comes and smacks one over the top. First ball that he faces and just diffuses the whole situation. So he's got the knack of doing that. Deepak Char showed that he can bowl in the depth as well. Shardul Thakur will keep getting you wickets. So, they've got most bases covered. It may not have looked like a very special effort. They were lucky with the toss, but it's a team that has enough to take them to the playoffs. And as far as the aging factor is concerned, I think it's still there. It's still there with Suresh Raina. It is still there with Mahendra Singh Dhoni when he comes out to bat. And on occasion, you'll see it with Ambati Raidu. They would be hoping that it doesn't come to haunt them on the big night. But it's really nice to see a resurgent CSK after what happened to them the previous season.
I like what Carlos said, right? Teams that panic first tend to lose first. But CSK don't seem to panic. And, you look at how MS Dhoni leads them, Carlos. Gautam Gambhir said he might just be a captain and a keeper. So even if he doesn't bat much, or if Suresh Raina bats five suddenly instead of three, they're doing well to cover what could make them vulnerable. And they somehow seem to just churn out results.
But it seems as though they have a belief of such that they trust the process. Whatever the process is, it's worked for them over a number of years. Last year was kind of an off year for the franchise, but the message out of the franchise was always, we know what we're good at, we'll continue to do what we're good at. And obviously, one thing goes left, one thing goes right, and all of a sudden with 3 wins out of 5 instead of 1 win out of 5. So they've continued to trust that process, and it's been with experienced players. Everyone seems to know their role. So Shane Watson leaving, Gaikwad coming in, he knows his role. And a key part of that top order that goes amiss plenty of times is Faf du Plessis. He always comes out to bat. He knows his game inside out at the moment. He can play an innings where he gets 50 off 40 on a bad track. He could easily get you 70 off 30 on another day. And he's been kind of a glue for the top order, regardless of if it was Shane Watson struggling a bit, Gaikwad now making his debut or being ushered into the IPL scene, ready to bat Suresh Raina at 3 or Moeen Ali at 3. Faf du Plessis has been the glue to that top order, and sometimes he's a bit underrated in the way he goes about his business and the results that he gets. And obviously you have the elder statesman and the legend in MS Dhoni, who is the ultimate man manager and captain. And when you look around our team as well, it's a big leadership group. You have Faf, who would have captained South Africa, Bravo, who would have captained West Indies and captained a few franchises as well. And then you have Suresh Raina leading his own right, MS Dhoni. So, I mean, everything that you talk about with having a quality group of players, a group of leaders, and having a good process that you can always stick to, it seems as though CSK has all those boxes ticked, and there's no secret why they've been successful so consistently.
Quickly, Ronak, just to finish on that point, I think you alluded to it. What CSK is doing this time around, they've still got some aging players, is that they're giving the crucial role to players in their prime. When you look at the bowling attack. So the aging players or past their prime players are not in important positions where they can sort of, not be that constructive in the team process.
Yeah, absolutely fair point. So the Chennai Super Kings, with all the veterans in them, seem to be the favourites to at least secure a playoff spot first and possibly even a top 2 spot. 1 foot there already. Before we wrap things up, I must ask the veteran on the panel, Sanjay Manjrekar, to hand an excellent performance cap to Carlos Brathwaite on his T20 timeout debut. I think it's been a brilliant day for Carlos. Sanjay, would you concur?
Absolutely. We're very sound on his knowledge of all teams. And I love the fact that he has his own views. Sometimes we tend to get influenced by, our fellow panelists. I tend to get influenced constantly. Carlos with Ronak, setting the agenda for the talk and everything. So whatever you hear from me is mostly what's in Ronak's head. So I have that tendency to get influenced. Not you, Carlos. So keep up the good work.
Carlos, I'm sure as a modern day player, you know that it's only one performance. You've got to back it up tomorrow and day after when you're with us. It's been a great day to be in yellow. But for Carlos Brathwaite's internet, which is not his fault, he has had a stellar debut on T20 timeout. We'll be back with Sanjay Manjrekar and Carlos for the big doubleheader tomorrow. Deep Das Gupta will be part of the action as well. So please do join us on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 timeout. Chennai Super Kings. It's been a great day to be in yellow, as Carlos has shown, and so have I. We'll see you tomorrow.
We call it people technology.